Everybody, today I have another guide for you. This is going to be another marksman build. A little bit ago I put out a sort of general marksman build to sort of match the latest content update with the Chain God. A lot of powerful seasonal relics came out at the Soul Merchant that you could use that really boosted marksman performance, and ultimately that build, it's the same gear for pretty much every marksman, so you could take that build from that video and use it for any of them, and you can get some pretty good results. I was using Sardamus for that one, and he was able to put out some really good damage numbers, very respectable for a secondary damage dealer, especially a ranged one. There wasn't much else to it. Definitely makes marksman usable, and something you can run with them in the newest patch and feel like they're actually pulling their own weight. However, there is one marksman that has an opportunity to change it up a little bit, and that is going to be today's video, Sir Bors. Sir Bors is unique from the other marksmen in the fact that he can wear medium armor. So with that change, there is a Soul Merchant medium armor piece that got a lot of attention from a lot of different players, wondering how good is it going to be with him. Is he going to suddenly be now like really good? And hopefully by the end of today's video I'll sort of answer that question for you. Before we get into the gear, I'm going to start with the essences as usual, in case what you see here is something that piques your interest and you want to try and replicate this. Now for the essences, there isn't a whole lot for him because he's a marksman. There isn't a whole lot to really give him. There isn't a whole lot they can benefit off of for essences, because the primary damage ones you're gonna probably give to your main damage dealer. One that I don't have on him, because I did give it to someone else, is the Essence of Extermination, 10% chance to do double damage. That is probably the damage essence I would give to him. Other than that, Essence of Perception, so he can hit those perception checks for extra loot. Essence of Deflection I think is actually pretty useful. Marksmen do have a tendency to get targeted by other enemy ranged units because they have such low hit points and armor generally. The ability to take less ranged damage from them is going to be quite useful. And I gave him Essence of Dodge because he is fairly highly likely to get targeted. This at least gives him a chance to maybe take no damage from any of that. Getting into gear, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, as this is, like I said, for the most part just a copy of the last build I did for Marksman. But the main difference here is the Soul Snare Sigil. You may recognize this from that sprint build I did for Vanguards last week. The movement cost is 33% less AP. Soul Fragments expire 2 turns later. But the big one here is -1 AP cost for ranged skills to a minimum of 1. As a marksman, pretty much all of his skills are ranged skills, so this is huge. A huge discount to pretty much everything he has across the board. So this is what we're really going to be testing. Does he have access to more actions per round, and how much of a damage boost is that going to be for him compared to the other marksmen? There's some turn duration for poison, not a big deal, but it does also have -8 damage received from range attacks, so just even more of that range damage negation, turning him into a pretty big tank to those enemy units that are going to try to snipe him. You'll see we have a number of bonuses against this. So to start off, we have -8 plus the 25% plus some more. It really does add up. For the seasonal bow, I still think this is probably the best one to go with. It has the highest base damage. It has an extra +18 damage against units larger than 1 tile, which is going to be most Fomorians, the primary enemy of the season. And attacks applying vulnerability for 2 turns. 15%, that's pretty solid. Just every attack, help boost that damage, give it a little extra help. The Relic ability, 26% chance on hit to create Chain Lightning. This isn't a huge amount of damage, but it is softening, which is useful in the role of damage support, secondary damage dealer. So it's not amazing, but every bit does help. We're running the Cloven Hoof. You pick this up from a mission, lets you summon Wargi. This is just good for picking up extra soul fragments. And on top of that, it does give him the Culling Strikes ability. So now he doesn't need to fully kill an enemy unit, just get them below 15% and that will count as a kill. Very good. That's strong. Extra damage to units at least 6 tiles away. And gets a damage boost after using movement skill, so you can dash and get a hidden. Last one, Levitating Spirit Stone. Damage over time effects +13. Basic attacks cost +25% damage and 15% bleeding till the end of the encounter. You need to do 200 damage first to trigger the blood magic effect. And I know that 200 sounds like a lot for a marksman, for those of you that are familiar with the problems they have, but you'll see this really isn't a huge ask anymore. -1 cooldown for Poisoned Arrow, so now you can use it like every single turn, which is great. It's a strong move. And some damage to Poison Bomb. Some very strong gear, a lot of good bonuses. Let's go ahead and jump to the skills, and you can see how I've kind of built him. Moving on to skills, you may notice some things moved around a bit. That's my fault, no worry about it. The last setup was from a different save file. Sort of realized that in the middle of recording, didn't feel like going back and re-recording all the stuff, so just moving on, this is the proper skill breakdown, the proper skills. Now there isn't a whole lot here I need to go into like crazy detail for, so I'm just going to cover what I think is most important. Starting off, to sort of compound on a point I mentioned earlier, his tankiness to ranged attacks. He has the -8 from his armor. And with the talents I've picked up, he has an additional -6 from evasive, so that's 14, plus 7 from deflection for 21, and then 25% on top of that. So he has medium armor as well from skirmisher. He starts with this talent. So he has a larger health pool, a little extra armor than most marksmen, plus this huge reduction to ranged attacks. He's honestly going to be pretty safe from enemy ranged attacks. So it's generally something a lot of players worry about with their marksman is getting shot back. Boars is going to be pretty tanky to that, so he is fairly safe. Going into his damage dealing capability, he has an ability unique to him that you're going to want to keep with Mark Target. You apply a 30% vulnerability debuff with this upgrade. You use this as sort of your opener. You do lose out on this bonus from first shot for the turn that you use it, but I do think it is a larger damage boost, so it's worth having. And then on top of that, there's just so many damage boosts you have going for you that you can stack up. I took Weak Spots and Torture. Weak Spots he can self-synergize. He has Poisoned Arrow. And with the 1-turn cooldown, you can put this on every target that you're going to be shooting at. I kept Torture because the team I do run them with has 2 people that could potentially set the burning condition, so this is a pretty easy extra 20% to get. On top of that, there's the extra 25% we get from the Blood Magic proc here, so we're looking at 65% if I'm able to synergize both of these, 45% at least, which is super easy to self-synergize off of. And then damage bonuses down here with Eagle Eye, 10% if they're 6 tiles away, an extra 10% if I'm disengaged, that means no enemies within 5 tiles. There's another 20% there for 85. And then if we set vulnerability, that's extra 30% they're taking, assuming they don't have any resistance. And if there isn't that, then at least we have first shot, which is 15% there. And if it's the first attack of the entire counter, there's 25% here. There's just so many damage boosts. Then going into all of that, there's that plus 18 extra damage against units larger than 1 tile, so that's most Fomorians. There's just so many. Like, I don't even know how to properly calculate all the damage boosts we'll be having going for us at a given time. But on top of all of this, I think it's really important that we take Piercing Arrow. Being able to pierce armor is very important. Fomorians have a lot of armor, and it's still a pretty big diminishing factor on your damage when shooting against Fomorians. And then I took Elusive. You'll be surprised with the amount of damage Sir Bors can do. He can get kills with a good amount of frequency, especially if you're trying to get him those kills, as well as Adrenaline. Getting an AP back on a kill, it's only 1 AP, but thanks to our Soul Snare sigil, we have super cheap abilities. 2 AP, 3 AP, 2 AP here for Smothering Shot. That's nothing. Getting an AP back is 50% refund on Poisoned Arrow and Smothering Shot. 1 AP can actually go a long way for him. It's enough to get a dash in, it's enough to get a marked target up, and you kill 2 targets, that's enough for another Poisoned Arrow. But we have so many bonuses going into our basic shoot attack, this will actually be our highest damage move. The only reason I keep Aimed Shot is because it can be useful to resetting our AP, because sometimes if I have like 5 AP, and let's say these are on cooldown, well, 5 AP in an Aimed Shot may be more damage than a single shoot attack for 3 AP. There's the 20% extra damage if they're unarmored. So this is something I don't use very often, but it is something that can potentially come up from time to time and be helpful. If you really don't want to bother with aim shot and you don't care about that, I would probably put the point towards scout, just get some extra movement AP. And that really covers it for the skills. So enough talk, let's go ahead and see him in action, and I think you may be pleasantly surprised at just some of the crazy stuff he can do. Alright, first fight, Best Served Cold, level 24 mission. There's a lot of Fomorians over here that I can't quite see yet. This is going to be a little tricky since it's sort of narrow. They all come running this direction, and marksmen still do benefit from getting backstabs. They really do. So it's going to be a little harder to get that if we really want to try and accentuate the damage. Obviously everyone does better with backstabs, but marksmen are a little more reliant on it even with the new gear, and due to range they can more safely get it without provoking opportunity attacks. But I think for this first turn, we're going to summon Wargi over here, so he's just ready to grab soul fragments as they pop up. And we're just going to use some of our movement AP. It's nice having that extra 33% cost reduction. Just move him like over here, I think. Okay. We'll go ahead and have Boar start working on the Slaughterer. We're going to Poison Arrow, hit him for 100, nice. Let's go ahead and set the burn on him. We're going to do Mark Target for that 30%, and now you can see we haven't triggered Blood Magic yet because we've only done 100. But our shoot here is already going to do about 150 damage. Yep, and now our next one, now the Blood Magic has procced, so this one is going to get that 15%, so we shoot him. And this should hit the Culling Hits trigger, so it'll just outright kill him. Yep, that time hit him for 185 and got the kill. And you can see in comparison here, a lot less damage, frontward facing attack against this Beastman, it's that armor. So let's go ahead and break some of this armor off, like so. And let's just get some attacks in. We can set the burn with Galahad. Let's move here, and we can get a smothering shot in. Only 80. Yeah. The back attacks or the backstabs, like I mentioned, still fairly important. But it's alright. His damage will ramp up on the next turn. Alright, let's get Wargi over here for the soul. Start getting them a bit closer. Alright, we're going to move Galahad. Nice. Going to pop this. We're going to dash, so we'll get a damage boost from using a movement ability. We do lose that damage bonus from the first shot because we used an AP, but that's alright, because now we shoot this guy here and we're going to be doing about 230? 220 plus 51 because we got the proc. He's now nice and super low, so super easy kill for our White Knight there. Let's go ahead and move up one. Set poison. Let's set our burn. Just pop guard to be safe. Let's go ahead and mark him. 210, very nice. There we go. Thanks to the softening from our boars here, we were able to very quickly and easily kill him off with only 2 attacks. Definitely would have cost a third one if he was at full health. Let's go ahead and turn him around for our Sir Boars here. We can eat the hit. Galahad is tanky. Very nice. Let's use White Knight. Get 1 attack to break the armor, and then we'll use Sir Boars to weaken him, and then our White Knight can finish him off. Or just get the kill ourselves. So as you saw there, Sir Boars is capable of putting out hundreds of ranged damage, able to very easily soften up your targets with a good amount of attacks every round, and that's what we like to see from him, being able to just churn out these attacks. For our second fight, just another Fomorians. They start off pretty split up, so we're going to focus on our closer enemies over here. Just gonna let them get a little closer. We don't really need to do a whole lot this first turn. Again, we'll summon Wargi just so he's at the ready for any soul fragments that pop up. Alright, so we have this annoying Windmaster over here in the back. We can definitely take care of him, no problem. Let's go ahead and move you up one. There we go. So we have the distance now, so we should have the bonus from being disengaged and them being 6 tiles away or more. Okay, cool. And let's go ahead and pop our buffs. We're going to be doing a lot this round, so let's pop this haste potion. You can see we have a lot of AP stacked up on Cerberus 23. With how cheap our moves are, we can do a lot with this. So, first things first, Windmaster is going to be our priority to kill. So let's set the burn on him. Poison. And mark. There you go. 238 on a basic shot. That's so good. We're going to move up our White Knight here, break off this armor, so that way our Boris can do a much better job of softening them up for him. Poison, flame, basic shot. I mean, we could just get the kills with our Boris too, that works, I guess. Let's, yep, over to here. Can poison arrow again. Simple matter of just moving up one, set the flame. And over here, let's see, we got 4 AP. We can do one attack, which will do about 120, or we could do a poison arrow followed up by a smothering shot. Very nice. White Knight can easily get the kill there. And just like that, this entire group's been wiped out, thanks to a lot of work from Boris, and we'll just wait for the rest of them to come running on in. Alright, move you up. Oh, let's grab this soul fragment, actually. Now, what are we gonna do with you? Set the burn on you. Mark. Very nice. Super weak. Let's go ahead and use our teleport over here. Alright. We're actually going to back up one, because something tells me this Beastman's coming after our Boris. Oh, he redirected. Cool. His back's already turned to us, so let's just focus on him. Just to get his back facing a little more, so we don't need to move quite as far to get our backstabs on him. and then there we go, easy kill. And yeah, Boris was popping off in that fight. He had so many attacks. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the replay as I'm editing this down and try and calculate how much damage he did during that one turn over the course of all those attacks. He was just doing so many attacks, and it's so easy to lose track of all the damage numbers. But I think that was a very solid performance. He got some fair amount of kills and also did a good amount of softening on targets that enabled the White Knight to get a kill in either one hit or in one less hit, and that's all we can really ask from him. So that's my Sir Boris build in action. Nothing super creative here. I'm sure a lot of players probably saw this when they looked at the new items, but I can understand maybe not every player jumping on it because it is admittedly a little risky to try and go all in with your precious soul fragments on a marksman given how they perform up until that point. But the results speak for themselves. He did absolutely incredible. I went back and watched the recording for that round of combat where he used the haste potion, and it's a little hard to get the exact numbers because the numbers kind of layer over each other when he gets that AoE proc with the lightning. But during that round, it procced 4 times, so including that, he did around 2,800 damage in a single turn. And honestly, I think it's a little higher because the lightning effect from the bow just hits the 4 nearest enemies. It doesn't say within a certain range, just the 4 nearest. So at his later shots, when that first group of enemies started to dwindle, that lightning was chaining off to enemies that were off screen and hitting them as well. So the lightning on average was hitting each of them for about 50, and with about 4 procs, that's about 200 per target. Until the ones that died, but the ones that lived through all 4 of those, it's about an extra free 200 damage on them. Plus the other targets it chained off to, probably closer to around 2,900, maybe even 3,000 damage in one round. I mean, for any unit, that's really good, and just for a marksman, that is astronomically good. And that's just to the benefit of incredibly high damage now being capable of them doing hundreds of damage per shot because of all these relics and all the stacking bonuses we get. And thanks to the Soul Snare Sigil, the -1 AP, Boris is basically a machine gun, just able to pop off like 9 attacks in a single round, 8 attacks in a single round. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So if you have Sir Boris still on one of your playthroughs, and you're maybe not a big fan of his, maybe hold on to him, because you get him to the end game and you feed him, it's honestly a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun stacking him up like this and watching him just go nuts. You may want to pick up a tome to cleanse this lazy trait here, but not a huge deal in terms of his performance in combat. I'm glad I was finally able to get around to really playing with this build and getting a chance to show it off. It's a lot of fun, and it has really good results. I think the highest damage I saw from a single shot was like 273 for 3 AP. That's really good. For an attack at 9 range, really, really good. I hope this build was helpful or informative, really showed him off well, and thanks for watching.